The building of temples continues uninterrupted. Brothers and sisters, today is my privilege to announce several new temples.
President Thomas S. Monson brought the news of new temple construction to the church on Saturday morning of General Conference last October. We begin by crossing the Atlantic to the City of Light, Paris, France. Land has been selected and early approvals granted in the western suburbs of Paris for the construction of a temple and gardens for public access. This will be the first temple in France and the 14th in Europe. South to the continent of Africa, the Kinshasa Democratic Republic of Congo temple will be the first temple in this country and serve more than 23,000 members in the region. Presently, temple-going Latter-day Saints travel to the Johannesburg, South Africa temple, more than 2,000 miles away. Further south to what will be the Durban, South Africa temple. When the site is finalized, construction will begin for what will be the 5th temple on the African continent. With nearly 5 million people, Durban is South Africa's 3rd largest city, behind Cape Town and Johannesburg. Back across the Atlantic to the northern edge of South America, the Barranquilla, Colombia temple will be the 2nd temple in the country, following the Bogota, Colombia temple, which was dedicated in 1999. Returning to the Mountain West and to the site of the Star Valley, Wyoming temple. As the 79th temple in the U.S., the Star Valley, Wyoming temple will be the first in the Cowboy State. 2 more temples are coming to Utah, but one location announced by President Monson comes to us in a way few could have predicted. Built in the 1880s and 90s, the Provo Tabernacle was extensively damaged by an accidental fire on December 17, 2010. After several months of contemplating the building's uncertain future, the church has elected to restore this historic meeting house.
After careful study, we've decided to rebuild it with full preservation and restoration of the exterior to become the 2nd temple of the church in the city of Provo. The existing Provo temple is one of the busiest in the church, and a 2nd temple there will facilitate the increasing numbers of faithful church members who are attending the temple from Provo and the surrounding communities.
And there is more temple construction underway in nearby Payson. On a blustery day last fall, community members turned out to welcome Elder Dallin H. Oaks of the 12 as he and other church leaders broke ground for the Payson, Utah temple on October 8th. And the event was something of a homecoming for Elder Oaks.
I lived with my Harris grandparents on their farm adjoining the highway between Payson and Spring Lake. We can see the location of that farm. It is less than a half a mile from where I stand.
Rain could not dampen the spirits of the groundbreaking ceremony for the Sapporo, Japan temple last October. Elder Gary E. Stevenson of the First Quorum of the 70 led the group of church and civic leaders. Japan's former Prime Minister Yukio Hatoyama attended the event and thanked the church for its humanitarian aid to Japan after last year's earthquake and tsunami. To Latin America, Elder David A. Bednar of the 12 travels to the site of the Fortaleza, Brazil temple to lead the groundbreaking ceremonies held there on November 15th.
This temple will be a source of hope.
Esse templo será uma fonte de esperança,
of light,
de luz
and of faith in God
e de fé em Deus,
to all who see it.
para todos aqui.
When the Fortaleza, Brazil temple is finished, it will serve as the 7th temple in the country and serve multiple stakes in the immediate and outlying areas. Fair conditions and sunny skies accompanied President Dieter F. Uchtdorf, 2nd counselor in the First Presidency of the Church, and Elder Neil L. Anderson of the 12, as they traveled to Central America to dedicate the Quetzaltenango, Guatemala temple on December 11th. In a dramatically beautiful setting in the Quetzaltenango Valley of surrounding mountains and volcanoes, President Uchtdorf invited those in attendance to come forward and help set the ceremonial temple cornerstone.
Okay, that's it, I think. These youth are a solid foundation, definitely. Isn't that a wonderful symbolic act to have the youth build the temple in a literal way?
This is the first temple dedicated by President Uchtdorf and the 2nd operating temple in Guatemala. The Quetzaltenango Guatemala Temple will serve nearly 60,000 Latter-day Saints living in this region of Central America.